Tiger Hazur. The first question is from Osama Opal. He asks regarding chapter 39 in the Holy Quran, Al-Zamar.
Imam Sahib is not here. Somebody else should take over to open the chapter. Or will you read from the chapter? Al-Zumar, not Zumar.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Translation is
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Translation is he who prays devoutly to God in the hours of the night. Okay, I'm sorry. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And when an affliction befalls a man, he calls upon his Lord, turning penitently to him. Then, when he confers upon him a favour from himself, he forgets what he used to pray for before, and begins to assign rivals to Allah, that he may lead men astray from his way. Say, benefit thyself with thy disbelief a little while, thou art surely of the inmates of a fire.
Right.
Hazur Osama wants to ask, why does Allah give them a leeway and let them benefit from what they are doing wrong, and then punish them? Why aren't they punished straight away and as soon as they go astray? Hazur, please can you shed some light on this?
I spoke on this verse during my sermon, and perhaps I left this point out. Thank you for reminding me. If Allah does not give leave to anyone who sins against Him, then the whole mankind and the animal kingdom would be wiped out. Because everyone, if seen from God's vantage point, will be full of mistakes. So He must tolerate mistakes and shortcomings, whether they are small or big. But during this period of our stay on earth, this is a period of trial. So during that period, if He does not understand the problems of His creation and their limitations, then the creation will lose its purpose, and no trial period will be designed at all. That is the reason why Allah speaks in this verse of giving them a trial and leeway, greater leeway. Thank you.
Okay, Hazur, the next question. The next question is from Mudassir Ahmed from Southall. He's seated over there. Hazur, he says, my question...
Can you pull it up a little bit to suit your height? Or is it too short? Yes, now you can pull it up. More, a little more.
Okay.
So that you don't have to bend it all. Huh? That's right. That will be sufficient. Yes.
Hazur, he asks, my question is on artificial intelligence. I'd just like to know where Hazur would draw the line in the future development of artificial intelligence, as in the sense that man is making machine act more and more like humans, therefore introducing the possibility of man-made humans, and ultimately playing God.
This is just a hypothetical question which has no ground to stand upon. In fact, all man-made machines are created by man. No man-made machine can create man. This is the dividing line. Can you ever conceive a computer making a man? Can you ever conceive a man making a computer? So that is it.
Thank you, Hazur. Hazur, the next question is from Hussein Afar. He's a Khuddam from Lambeth Jamaat.
He is a what?
He's a Khadim from Lambeth
Yes,
Jamaat.
that's right.
Hazur, he's at Westminster University and he's studying building construction and surveying. Hazur, he asks, my question is about the human evolution. As science has proved that we were apes and we were transformed to human beings. Can you please...
I've never heard of it.
I mean, in books, it says,
Huh?
in books they said we used to be Homo sapiens and then evolution and...
But apes, this theory has long been thrown overboard. The present day concept of evolution is very different from what it was held some decades ago. Humans did not evolve directly from apes at all. The tree of evolution bifurcated into two different branches, a few species earlier than the apes. And that's something which gave birth to both the branch which led to humans and the branch which led to apes was a different species altogether. So we were not directly born out of apes. Right?
Thank you, Hazur. The next question is from Timur Yusuf. He's from Tatarstan. He's studying postgraduate in classical music and performance. He asks, what is Islam's view on performing arts with regard to the performance of musics and a Muslim who is working in this field?
On this question I have spoken many a time before, and was it your field?
No, it was not mine.
Huh?
There's a friend here also.
Who was the MD boy who...
I think it was
You, I'm sorry, yes. It was you. So I gave you a full answer once before, full satisfactory answer. And could you pass that on to him later on? Otherwise it will be too much repetition of the same things all over again. Right? So he will take care of you. Please.
So the next question is from Muzaffar Zafar from Clapham Jamaat. He asks, Dear Hazur, as the anniversary of Hazur's arrival to the UK approaches, what is Hazur's most endearing memory of his 15-year stay to the UK?
I had completely forgotten. I don't remember my anniversary, my birthday, and these small things. But this perhaps is not a small thing. The day when I arrived in the UK, it was an epoch-making day, which opened a new avenue for the progress of Ahmadiyyat. So what do you want to know about that day?
Hazur, the question was, when you reflect on your stay in the United Kingdom, what is your most cherished personal memory? And the second part of the question, if you allow me, is what do you most miss about your Rabwa days?
This question should be asked there over the microphone, please. It should be recorded in your own words, huh?
I'll save time.
Yes, yes.
Assalamu alaikum, Hazur.
Wa alaikum.
My question is that, inshallah, the 14th anniversary of Hazur's arrival,
Please, don't disturb. It's enough.
the 14th anniversary of Hazur's arrival to the United Kingdom will inshallah be with us. And I was wondering, when Hazur reflects on his stay in the United Kingdom,
When will it occur?
Imam Sahib informs us 30th of April, Hazur.
30th of April.
Ji.
I think I arrived here on the 1st of May instead, I suppose.
Yes.
April is 31,
30, Hazur.
30 days. So I left there on the 30th of April, and I must have arrived the next morning on the 1st of May. Is it that right?
My recollection is 30th of April.
Huh?
So my recollection is 30th of April.
Of my departure or my arrival?
Yeah.
So when did I leave? 29th?
I believe so.
I don't think so. Somebody should go to Imam Sahib and tell him to ascertain exactly.
Jesus.
Right. No, not you. Someone from the administration should say.
Imam Sahib has gone to a question and answer session in North London.
So the Prime Secretary would be here in his office. Someone should go to him and find out exactly. As far as my memory goes, I left there on the 30th of April, the night between 30th and the 1st of May. And by the time our plane departed, already the next day had dawned. That is, the night had tilted beyond 12 o'clock into the next day. So when we left, as far as my memory goes, we left on the 1st of May instead, to be correct, and arrived here next morning. That was again the 1st, of course. So what is the question about?
When Huzur reflects on his stay in the United Kingdom, what is your most cherished personal memory?
Right. The most cherished memory is that of the faces which I saw during my arrival and first address. Every Ahmadi who was there, he was charged with fantastic spirit of dedication and devotion. I was amazed to see that. Although the Jamaat had not yet been prepared by me as I wanted it to be, but the very fact that I had left Pakistan and come to them had somehow charged them with a fantastic spirit of dedication and devotion. And that was my stockpile from which I started working, building the Ahmadiyya character from then on. And it still is not exhausted. That spirit of dedication was born to become a permanent feature of Ahmadiyyat in England. And with the grace of Allah, as I have told you, I am seeing it develop further. Listen, 30th of April was my departure.
Arrival into England.
Huh?
Arrival into England.
Is that right? But let him reconsider it. Please. You see, I'll count the days. On the 26th, the ordinance was passed, promulgated. It took me 3 days in Rabwa to prepare for my departure. I remained awake almost round the clock for 3 days and 3 nights. So that means 29th. On the 30th, I started my journey by car from Rabwa to Karachi. So how could I be here on the 30th? You tell him all these things. He's going by the popular view that I arrived here on the 30th, but these are the calculated figures. The ordinance was promulgated on 26th. Correct? There is no gainsaying that. It took me exactly 3 days and 3 nights to remain in Rabwa and prepare for my departure and instruct all the various organizations what to do and what not to do. So that makes how many days? 27th, 28th, 29th. And 30th is the day of my departure from Rabwa. Should be.
How put it to him again.
Please.
Would that include the 26th?
Hmm?
Would that include the 26th, 3 days and 3 nights?
No, 26th I was at Islamabad. When the ordinance was promulgated, I was at Islamabad. So I received intelligence reports that government is sort of creating some mischief and trouble. So that while I am in Islamabad, I am surrounded by hostile elements. So the Deputy Commissioner of Islamabad, who was inclined to be favorable to Ahmadiyya, he sent me an immediate message that leave Islamabad as soon as possible. This is my advice, it's not an order. And I acted by the advice and left Islamabad and travelled all night to Rabwa. And we reached Rabwa in the morning. See? So that makes 27.
Hazur, may I have permission to add a small second part to that question?
Please,
not?
do.
I just wanted to ask, again, when Hazur reminisces about these past 14 or 15 years, on a personal level, what does Hazur miss most about his Rabwa days?
Well, I don't have time to miss anything because I'm caught up with the pace of progress of Ahmadiyya here, not only in London but all over the world. So the missing part is left behind. You understand? That was during the first 8 months. I struggled terribly, but then God arranged for me a new phase of life, and then I never looked back. Right?
Jazakallah, Hazur.
Yeah, please.
Hazur, the next question is from Sayyid Mansoor Ahmed from New Malden. He's studying psychology at Greenwich University.
Sayyid Mansoor, please.
Hazur, he says, my question deals with consciousness. A philosopher called Colin Wilson said that everyday consciousness is a liar, and he claimed that there is a form of higher consciousness to the one we hold now. What are your opinions on this matter?
Consciousness ever increases. As civilization proceeds, as new discoveries are made, what is consciousness? Is awareness of things around. So consciousness is number one, individual, number two, social and communal. So as far as the individual consciousness goes, it has so many various degrees in between the fully aware person and the one who is just dimly opening his eyes into the world around. Even the mad people have their inner consciousness. So the more you move from that dim light, the twilight of awareness, into the full day. The day is born not equally to everybody. Some eyes are bright, some eyes are dim. Some avail of the light of day to the best extent, and some just sleep over the day. So consciousness is a very, very complicated affair to judge by any standards. It's a thing of, it's a progress of awareness. And the progress of awareness in totality increases. Individually, I have already said that each individual has his own stages of consciousness. But awareness in totality continues to grow with the passage of time. The sum total of human awareness today is definitely greater than the sum total of human awareness 1,000 years ago, and so on and so forth. So I don't have to quote any scholar on this. This is an everyday simple experience, and it should be explained as such, not in philosophical terms, but in simple, understandable terms. Got it? All right? Thank you.
Hazur Rashid asks, what ways in the Quran are there, as well as prayer, that we can use to better ourselves and develop our minds?
Please. This is a very interesting question. You don't have to read any special verses to develop your mind. You have to read the whole of the Quran to develop your mind. Because there is not an iota in the Quran which does not relate to our life and our human complexity. Every verse relates to some complex aspect of human nature. So, reading a few verses will not suffice. You have to go through the whole of the Quran, trying to understand it. Although the entire meaning of all the verses will not be born instantaneously, but your knowledge will grow into greater understanding of those many verses, and in those areas where you understand them, your mind will be better enlightened. Thank you.
Thank you, Hazur. Hazur, the next question is from Osman Khan from Tooting, who's studying GCSEs. He says, recently, scientists found ice on the moon. What is the Quran's explanation of this, and how will it affect mankind?
Aisha?
Ice. Ice.
Ice Age.
No. Ice was found on the moon. Ice.
Aha. This recent discovery that ice is discovered on the moon. I don't see any immediate effect on humans, but in perhaps near future, man will be able to have their base, instead of setting on the ground, on earth, will be able to set his base over the moon. And that water will be consumed because the resources of that water are unlimited. So it's only the lack of water which causes hurried departure from moon by humans who go there. But if they have an unlimited stock of water, or at least man cannot finish it, then he can establish a base camp there, and from there, and the flights into the heavens would be more, I think, advantageous in many ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Hazur. Hazur, the next question is from Amir Malek from Islamabad. He's studying aeronautical engineering at Imperial College. Hazur asks, Islam lays great emphasis on the acquisition of knowledge, but Einstein's work on atomic theory led directly to the atomic bomb. Hundreds of thousands of people lost their lives. How does the death of 1 million people justify the acquisition of this knowledge?
Please. Knowledge is a neutral instrument. It can be employed to good or to evil. It all depends on the employer. So knowledge is good. But whatever knowledge produces, you can employ it to the disadvantage of mankind. So this is a similar case of exactly the same thing. What is knowledge? Knowledge in this case is the understanding of atomic explosions, fusion bombs, etc., etc. But the knowledge does not relate to bombs directly. it relates to the sources of energy which are lying in wait for man to trap. That is knowledge. How to use it to the disadvantage of mankind is also a sort of knowledge, but which is which in fact is a political utilization of that knowledge. When Einstein spoke of atomic bomb and what havoc it would play, he requested in earnest, requested the US government in all earnest not to employ this knowledge to the destruction of mankind. And despite his warning, the United States government went ahead to do it. So it was not science which directly created that threat. It was the employment of that knowledge by the political forces which created that threat. Right? Next, please.
So the next question is from Makbul Khan from Sutton. He says about the Holy Prophet.
Where is he?
Sit on it.
Oh, right, Makbul. Huh? Please.
He says that the Holy Prophet ﷺ said to seek knowledge, even if we have to go to China to attain it. To what extent should we seek to understand secular material knowledge?
Knowledge is described by Rasulullah ﷺ in two branches, ilmul adyane wa ilmul abdane. He said there are only two solid branches of knowledge. One, the knowledge of spiritual world, and the second, the knowledge of material world, which is science. Abdan means the bodies, the knowledge of bodies, which is of course science. In between stand philosophies and isms and this and that. He rules them out as direct knowledge. The real knowledge on which everything is based is religion and sciences. So if you have to go out to China to seek secular knowledge, which is science, I mean, in that case you will be fulfilling the message of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But remember that he was talking of China around 1400 years ago. China was as far distant from Arabia at that time, and to reach it was so difficult that a man of today cannot say the same thing about China. An observation of similar nature would be that believer must seek knowledge even if he has to go to moon or beyond. That was the essence of that statement. Right?
Thank you, Hazur. The next question is from Zahir Zafar from Norbury. He's studying A-levels in maths, physics and computing. Hazuri asks, how did Hazrat Adam come into being? Was he born like a normal man and developed like a normal man, or was he placed on earth physically as a grown man?
Who asked this question? You? Do you consider yourself a descendant of Adam?
Yes, sir.
So if you are a normal man, he was a normal man. Right? But he was not instantaneously born, completely finished in his form, in features, in his arteries, in his organs, in his mind. Not like that in a single instant. That took 1 billion years of progress of life to ultimately create Adam in his finished form. So there are two different things altogether. Adam, which you are talking about, was a prophet of God. that prophet of God happened to be around 6,000 years before us. But he was not instantaneously made there and then made a prophet. Humans existed before him, hundreds of thousands of years before him. And they progressed in different ways, in different places. So the first Adam we know who was selected by Allah to work, to be commissioned as a prophet is that Adam you're talking about. But according to Sallallahu hundreds, more than 100,000 Adams were born in this world, which means that religion was revealed to mankind even before Adam. And in different areas of the world, religion was revealed in accordance with the dictates of time and requirements of the people of that age. So all were humans. So when you talk of humans, humans have a history which is much longer than the history of our Adam. Understand? Thank you.
Hazur, this question follows from the last comments about the 100,000 Adams. Hazur, the question's name is Sayyid Mashoor Ahmed. He's son of Sayyid Nasir Ahmed, and he's living in New Malden.
You've been talking to each other about this. Okay.
Hazur, he says that there is a hadith in which Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said there has been no less than 100,000 Adams. Am I right by saying that there were civilizations before us?
Of course.
If yes, then why are we so lucky to have a Holy Prophet in our civilization?
Because the Adam whose tree developed into the tree which bore the fruit of Hazrat Rasulullah is the most important tree to be remembered and registered. The same happens with the case of evolution. Different animals were created at different times and they followed their own route of development. But scientists have not followed all the progress they made. They are mainly concerned with the tree upon which Adam was born. But there are so many other offshoots of animals which progressed, and they have not recorded their evolutionary history as carefully as they have recorded the evolutionary history which led into man. So that is the reason why Adam's history is recorded to every detail, because it was to end up into the culmination of Ahmad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Right? Yeah.
Thank you, Hazur. So the next question is from Sulman Khan from Tooting Jamaat.
The same order, please.
Hazur, he asks, if non-believers invade a land ruled by Muslims, if non-believers invade a land ruled by Muslims, and the Muslims in the state are not able to defend themselves, what is the duty of us, Ahmadi Muslims around the world, in relation to keeping the land?
Which land?
If non-Ahmadi Muslims invade, no, I didn't get it.
Invade what?
If non-believers invade a land ruled by Muslims, and the Muslims in the state are not able to defend themselves,
Right.
what is the duty of Ahmadi Muslims around the world in relation to keeping the land?
Nothing. Because today the world is divided into political states, independent states. And Ahmadi Muslims as such are subject to the laws and regulations of the state in which they inhabit. So the state will not permit them to invade any other state. So they can't do anything. You understand? We do not believe in Khomeiniism, that he governed Iran but tried to interfere with the state affairs of England. It is that to which we took strong exception. States are states and religions are religions. So all Muslims, Ahmadi Muslims, who occupy different states, different lands, are governed by the laws of that state. And this is a fundamental article of their faith that they must obey the law. So how can they singly jet into another country and start invading that country because it has dared to invade a Muslim country? It's not possible. Unless we have a state power. And when we have a state power, then many things will be taken into consideration before we decide in attacking a country which attacks a Muslim country. Moreover, it is very possible that the Muslim country may be at fault itself. So if it is at fault, it will be not justified to defend the cause of a country which it is at fault. Initially, it gave excuse for that attack. So it's all hypothetical. I'm not saying that it will happen so, but it may so happen. Next.
Thank you. Hazur, the next question is from Dr. Shanwaz Rashid from North London. Hazur, he asks...
One of the professionals.
Yes. Hazur, he asks, human nature is such that we easily see the faults of others, but fail to see the faults of our own. How would Hazur advise us to objectively assess ourselves and better ourselves?
During the last 10 or 15 sermons, I've been speaking on this subject. You would like to answer, would you like me to answer you, at least taking 30 hours of your time today? So have recourse to those sermons. I have expressed every possible avenue which I could think of, which could awaken you into the awareness of self. And that is the question about, isn't it? Please.
Hazur, the next question is from Nasir Khan. It's about telepathy, another related phenomenon.
Huh?
It's about telepathy, another related phenomenon. Hazur, he says that in a question and answer session with Hazur at the IT Students and Professionals Forum, Hazur mentioned in response to a question that the time taken for something to transpire between two telepathically connected minds, as quoted by papers written on the subject, is instantaneous. His question is, could Hazur kindly explain in what capacity and extent the human mind can accomplish such phenomena, and if so, are there techniques provided in the Quran to develop these abilities?
Every day we are experiencing this phenomenon, but we do not know where the awareness which we possess is shared by another person, because it disseminates to the whole world. So it is possible that when Ahmadis think of something intensely all over the world, that concentrated thought over one particular subject may reach many other people of the world who may think this is their own idea. But originally that idea would be the Ahmadi ideas. So this is how goodness spreads. If you create a strong community which thinks well of others, somehow the awareness is born around that you should think well of others. This I have noticed during my experience when I meet the British intelligentsia, the intellectuals from Britain. and when I watch some television programs, I'm amazed to see that the same ideas are being expressed and are becoming more popular in the ordinary British life, of which I have spoken much before. The whole Jamaat knows. I don't say they imitate me because they may not have any recourse to any of our audio-video programs. But this sort of dissemination which I am speaking about may be occurring. And the Ahmadis who think in the same terms as I think may be thinking of these things in their own minds during night, during day. And these ideas may be enlightening the whole atmosphere around. So this is possible. Who asked this question? Oh, yes. It is possible that this is happening now, but we will not know definitely. The definite knowledge can only be attained when two people are set apart to long distances, and they decide among themselves that they would note if any special idea was occurred in their mind at a certain time. And when they exchange note, then this can be ascertained. So I have tried this myself. I have tried it with some friends living in Canada or even in London or elsewhere, and I keep my notes when a special idea struck me. And when I exchange notes with others, it's amazing that the same idea strikes them exactly on that time, at that time. But nobody knows where it began there or it began here. It seems to be a simultaneous phenomenon. So of that I can bear witness, this is true. It happens. But to be definite about it requires some investigation and scientific study. Thank you.
Thank you, Huzur. Huzur, the next question is from Naimul Haq from Southall. He's studying his GCSEs. He asks, where does Huzur see this? His question is relating to Humanity First. He asks, where does Huzur see this project going in the short term and in the long term?
Where is he? Please come to the microphone and tell me, what do you understand by Humanity First? Okay. Come closer to the microphone. Wa alaikum salam.
I believe that it's a charity organization of our Jamaat, and it was made by you.
Then?
And you have, you had a role of going to Bosnia.
You see, this charity organization, Humanity First, is not directly related to the functioning of Ahmadiyyat. That is why it was created separately. It is one of many such organizations which are already working in the world. So that is why I have repeatedly warned Sadr Sahib Khudam al-Ahmadiyya not to mix these two things together. Where Humanity First works, it works exactly on the same lines as other organizations of similar nature are working, whether based in UK or elsewhere. So keep your identity clear from Ahmadiyya, but the Ahmadiyya wish to help others has given birth to your organization. But directly, you do not draw money from Jamaat funds. We spend on charity in so many ways. So part of our spending which is on charity may be transferred to you. But as a whole, you do not draw from Jamaat funds at all. And you raise your own funds not in the name of Jamaat. You raise your funds in the name of charity. So keep this entity distinctly clear in your mind, and then there will be no problem in serving the purpose for which you are created. Thank you. Both of them.
Hazur, we have 2 questions left. The penultimate one is from Muhammad Abid Khan. He says, if God is so merciful...
Where is Abid Khan? Yes.
He asks, if God is so merciful, why doesn't...
What is the what?
If God is so merciful, why doesn't Allah forgive mankind and the family of mankind?
Who is Abid Khan? Introduce Abid Khan to me more.
I don't know anything about
I seem to be familiar with him, but not... Still, I don't recollect who you are.
Well, I'm not Khan, and I know you since for
Pan, what was your previous name?
my previous name. Muhammad Khan is my name, and it's always been my name.
Abid Khan has always been your name.
Yes.
Right. You are... what is your nationality?
Well, I was born in London, my parents from Pakistan.
Hmm?
My parents are from Pakistan.
Originally from Pakistan.
Yes.
When did you come over?
Well, my father came over in 1958.
1958.
58.
Were you already born in 1958?
Now I was born in 1963.
Right. Your parents came over,
Yes.
and then you were born here.
Yes.
So you are a born Britisher,
Yes.
and originally you belong to Pakistan. Which area of Pakistan?
Karachi.
Karachi.
Karachi and Lahore.
Right. And were your parents Ahmadis when they came over, or
My father,
are they Ahmadis now?
yes, they are.
They are.
My father's an Ahmadi, my mom was a Sunni. But when they got married together, they said to be Ahmadis.
Right. And how many brothers and sisters are you?
I have one brother and one sister.
Right. Now your question, please.
If God is so merciful, why doesn't God Allah forgive mankind and the family of mankind if God is so merciful?
Please. Even if you don't deal with the criminal with firmness, and if you do not punish the criminal, what would happen to this world? In the name of forgiveness, you will become extremely cruel to mankind as such. Remove all the legislations, man-made legislations which are created to suppress crime. Each such legislation is related to some punishment. So how can you expect God to forgive mankind altogether without taking into account the ill effects of this pardon at large? If God did not punish humans for their suffering, for their errors, then humans will go down the drain of evil pursuits with nothing of goodness, no trace of goodness left on earth. So that is the reason why Allah does not forgive without deciding the merits of each case. Allah is the only authority who is all-knowing, and He knows the background of a human when he commits a crime. He may be born in a criminal family. He may be born in a poverty-stricken family. He may be born outside home in streets like many people are born today. So his background is only known to Allah. So He can tolerate his sins or errors to a much greater degree than He can tolerate the errors of a person who is born into a good background good family background, born in among pious people, born among decent, civilized people, etc., etc. So that is why Allah does forgive, but according to the merit of the people, not without it. Human forgiveness is without relation to real merits, because they lack in knowledge. So the question is based on a wrong premise, that Allah, as if Allah does not forgive. Allah does forgive, but when forgiveness is good for man, He forgives. When it's not good for man, He does not. Next, please.
So that was actually the penultimate question, but I have two others, if you may permit. Hazur, this question is from Kamal Amini from Bradford, Jamaat.
Kamal Amini Sahib, where is he? Yes, please.
Hazur, his question is about the energy crisis. And he states, according to the US Geological Survey, there are probable oil reserves to sustain the world oil consumption for a period of 38 to 78 years. Along with this, natural gas and coal reserves are surveyed to last a similar length of time. In the light of the fact that there are renewable energy sources such as solar power, nuclear power, wind power, etc., and these sources would only be able to constitute 10% of the usage of global energy at this time, does Hazur feel that these fossil fuels will be used up as forecast? And if so, what would be the outcome of the impending energy crisis?
There is no energy crisis at all. The energy crisis is created by humans and the big powers to make the best benefit out of that crisis. The oil or energy reserves of America are sufficient to take care of the world for many decades to come. They are not using them. Similarly, they are keeping under lock and key their knowledge of such energy reserves in the third world countries, Africa, Pakistan, etc. They go and explore, and then they know where oil is found underneath, and they do not tell the government that we have discovered oil, but they return home with that knowledge, kept under lock and key. So they have the knowledge of such oil reserves which will be sufficient for mankind for at least 100 years to come, or even beyond that. Because I have not exactly calculated so far, so I can't say for how many centuries it can suffice. But even if you say it is sufficient only for 100 years, in that 100 years, the advancement of human science and its command of natural laws would be enhanced to such a degree that the energy produced by oil would be a small thing as compared to the knowledge of man, which can harness nature in so many other ways to produce energy. Atomic source is one source, but it has its own problems. Now recently, American scientists are probing the possibilities of matter and antimatter producing energy, with the result that no atomic explosion will take place and energy will be there. They have experimented on a vehicle driven entirely on this source of energy. And it succeeded, and it reached the last final velocity, not velocity, but the final speed. Or was it velocity? I don't remember. But the final speed was reached at 26 some miles per hour. That was without any engine driving that vehicle. But it's just the beginning. The problem is that the money they had to spend in creating this machine was colossal. So the 26 miles covered by that machine were not without any expenditure. So to produce that much energy out of matter and antimatter and their ultimate merger was nothing as far as the energy is produced. But this is the beginning like every other beginning. So the scientists are predicting that like in the previous times, a new source of energy was discovered, its employment cost so much that it was mind-boggling. Yet scientists persisted and ultimately found a cheaper way of utilizing that source of energy. So they are hoping and they're talking of some distant future, maybe in the next 20, 30, 40 years, when man will have harnessed a source of energy which will not destroy the environments. What they are working at is simply this, that they have separated matter into two forms, matter and antimatter. You know the sum total of matter and antimatter is zero. So if matter is divided somehow into two forms of A and B, one is matter as we know it, plus matter and negative matter. When they merge together, a lot of energy is produced because the energy which it took to separate them is released when they get together. It's a simple mathematics. So this is what they did in that case. They bombarded the antimatter elements onto the matter. And the explosion, the mini explosions which took place, created a huge source of energy which was employed to run this machine. So in future, new discoveries will be made. That how to utilize light is one thing. So far we know that the conversion of light into energy is to a great extent solved. In the sense that we have succeeded in implementing these new methods of converting light into energy to ordinary human usage. In Africa, some Ahmadi and villages are provided by us with this source of energy. And they are working beautifully well. In distant, far-off villages where there is no light, no electricity, they produce their electricity directly from sunlight. And for that we have started importing many, what do they call, solar panels, that's right. I'm importing solar panels from different countries, and we have discovered that if we import them from China, that will be the cheapest source. So we are already working on it. And the results are beautiful, wonderful. So I have already ordered that all Africa should be provided with these panels so that the energy crisis of Africa does not influence the progress of Ahmadiyyat in a negative way. Similarly, I have asked people to pursue the possibilities of employing the same source of energy in Pakistan in a big way. But the problem is that the government and other such agencies who are selfish, who stand in the way. Unless you keep a large share for them, they will not cooperate. And with that large share, the whole project will go topsy-turvy. And at every level there are obstacles of corruption and this and that. So although it is possible to provide Pakistan with a very cheap source of alternative energy, we unfortunately cannot help the country because of the corruption which is ruling supreme there. Please.
Thank you, Zora.
Is it right? Is the time over?
It was open-ended.
Huh?
It was open-ended.
I thought it was up to 8, no?
We didn't set a time. Aziz.
What was the allotted time?
6:30 to 7:30.
I see.
Aha, so it's already over by a large margin.
It was then flexible after that, depending on Zu's time. But there are a few questions from certain people.
Okay, I'll answer the questions quickly.
May I?
Yes, please.
This has not been given in writing to him.
The Isha Namaz is to be held at 8 o'clock? Today? Oh, sorry, Maghrib Namaz, yes. 8 o'clock? Or quarter to 8?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock? So we still have time enough, inshallah. I'll run to refresh myself after the two questions, please.
Assalamu alaikum, Zur. So my question is regarding the House of Lords in the United Kingdom, the upper house of the government. Recently, the government has opened debate and discussion about possible reform to this upper house. And I was listening to a debate on the radio where people were discussing of the possibility of having religious representatives in the House of Lords. And people were having views against and views for. I wonder what Hazur's
My
perspective...
vote should be counted against.
I see. I want...
Yes.
Acha, Jazakallah.
Next question.
This was the end question that I wanted to. Jazakumullah.
Is that all? Finished?
Zura.
No. You have some questions.
No, I have one last question from Zahir Zafar. Zuri asks, when Moses split the Red Sea, was this a natural phenomena or is this against the laws of nature?
Moses never split the Red Sea. Who told you that? It was Allah who did it. And when Allah does it, it's a natural phenomenon. All nature is created by God. Whether you understand that phenomenon to be natural phenomenon or do not, it's a different matter altogether. But Allah does not violate His own natural laws. That is fundamental. So as such, you should discover the factors of that time which caused that apparent split. And you should study more and in depth to discover that they were in line with with the laws which Allah had created. Right? Thank you. And the last question, is this the last?
There is one. There's one more.
Please. Wa alaikum salam.
I'm Nasir Khan from Fazal Mosque.
Yes, I think I know you. Yes.
Zur, my question is about that water may have been detected on the moon. The Clementine mission collected data after surveying the moon, and after analyzing the data, scientists concluded that there may be 10 million to 50 million metric tons of water deep in a crater on the south pole of the moon. If the reports of water on the moon are accurate, there is talk of forming a colony on the moon or a base, and perhaps even terraforming the moon. So does Hazur think this is likely, that the lunar surface will be colonized and terraformed?
It will not be colonized because that water would not be sufficient to to make it possible for humans to live there like they live here on earth, because this resource of water is not sufficient to maintain them forever. But it is definitely sufficient to maintain base camps. And that is why, in answer to a previous question, I mentioned those base camps. For the base camps, this amount of water is sufficient for years of years. But for colonization of moon, it's not sufficient. Thank you.
There's a second part of the question, if I have permission. Also, does Hazur believe...
Only one thing is possible, Allah knows best, that like rains here on earth, this water when consumed will turn into mist and clouds and will start raining on the moon surfaces again. If that happens, then of course it's an unlimited source.
So the aspect of an ecological system growing on the moon is possible?
I don't know the facts. It's just hypothetical. Thank you.
The second...
Is it the last question?
Yes.
No. Enough.
Okay.
Because of the time, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.